good evening and welcome back after a short break to After Service, our little podcast here at Open Door Community Church, where we take the opportunity to reflect on our recent message at Open Door Community Church with Pastor Brian. Hello, sir.
Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm not too bad.
Good.
Actually, I'm sick.
Good.
I'm
I'm
sick.
sorry. Yeah, you were a little sick on Sunday.
Yeah, actually today I was kind of mostly miserable, but I feel a little better now. I did a little self-care, took the time to do a little bit of yoga to just kind of get my body to stretch and kind of work some stuff out. And yeah, it was useful. Yeah.
Good. Good. I'm glad. I hope you continue to recover well and quickly.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. These are one of those kind of seasonal colds that tend to like destroy my voice, and which is either sounds really dramatic and angst-ridden or pathetic. Your choice.
I think angst-ridden is good. Hi.
Well, you're trying to hit those notes and it goes, and nothing comes out because there's just like everything in that range of your voice is just like shut down completely. So fun stuff.
So, well, I'm glad you're feeling better. Hope you continue to feel better. So, yep, drink a little something there, a little.
Yeah, diet soda. It's gonna really helps the cold.
Right.
Along with this little peanut butter cup that I've saved for myself as a treat. Not really useful. Well, what have you been doing this week? Are you still doing the workout regimen?
I haven't been able to get to it in the last week because of various things. So, yeah, I'm going to be getting back to it this week. So finally.
If you're anything like me, once you kind of start that routine, when something like interrupts it,
it's hard to get back.
Well, for me, I get really tense and kind of abrupt. So like when we went camping, I took 3 days off from any kind of exercise or anything like that, which of late is a really long stretch. It's usually I try to just take 1 day off a week. And I was tense and I was annoyed and lots of stuff, and then once I kind of got back in the routine, it's like, okay,
so your vacation stressed you out.
Yeah, but when you're driving, you're pulling a trailer on narrow roads to the coast and stuff, and that's with your mom, and she's kind of interesting in her own loving way, and telling you all the ways she can help you organize your house because it's certainly more cluttered than she would like it to be. Like
that's
relaxing.
stressful.
Yeah,
that's not very relaxing.
19-foot trailer, 5 of you, 6 if you count. I mean 6 including the dogs, 3 people. Close quarters. We all got sick. It's awesome.
Yay.
I know. We had a good time, though. Ultimately, we had a good time. But
you just had to recover from your vacation.
That's right. Yeah, it does. We all do.
We all do.
If you don't schedule 1 day for recovery when you return from vacation, you're not going to be rested when you come back to work.
No, not generally.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you and I, we don't have typical professions. And so our work week is different. Our hours are different. So anyway.
And I enjoy it. I enjoy my life like this. I know I've done the 9 to 5. I've done the restaurant business. 9 to 5, I couldn't do. Kathy does that. No. Nope. Working in an office. Nope.
No, I was, Vanessa and I were talking today, and I just said, I don't see any way that I can go back to working for somebody else. And I really hope that I don't have to. And I know I'm stubborn. And I like making decisions for myself, and I'm okay to deal with the consequences of those decisions, and that the accountability that's built into working for yourself is pretty
not
compelling.
For everybody, but it works for you.
It does work for me. Yeah, maybe a little too well. No, what I mean is I probably don't rest enough. That's probably ultimately. All right. Well, our banter has gone long.
You, yeah.
We're 5 minutes in and we haven't.
Anyways, back on.
Yeah. So one thing that you pointed out to me is we're doing kind of our lead up to this is I referenced our topic as revelations, and you very quickly corrected me, not in an unkind way, and said,
"Thank you."
The revelation.
Yeah.
And it's to me, that epitomizes, I was thinking about this earlier, not just that specific thing, because that's very recent, but I was out just kicking the ball around with Sam, and I was thinking just, what are we going to talk about this evening, specifically about the revelation? And it's one of those, it's so complex, it's so dense, it's a form of literature that is foreign to most of us, that it is so open to misinterpretation. We try to read it as if it is a narrative, and it's not. So to me, when I say revelations as opposed to the revelation, that epitomizes our misunderstanding, our disconnect from what it's actually trying to say to us.
That it's a series of revelations, but it's not, and just the little details. Yeah. But you're not the only one. I suppose I jumped on that because I've heard it so many times. Now I just it's almost a knee jerk. Nope, it's not revelations.
No, I appreciate it. I do not like walking through life, getting something consistently wrong, and it's like if you had lettuce in your teeth and nobody told you, right?
Yeah.
It's like, please tell me. The word hyperbole, I had never used in a sentence, but I love to read, and I would see it in books, and in my mind, it was hyperbole, right? Oh. And so when I used it in a sentence, somebody made fun of me for that. But I'm like, well, don't shame me. Just say, that's hyperbole, right?
Right.
So there's definitely opportunities for that. So thank you for pointing that out to me and doing it in a kind way. And by the way, real quick, did we have any questions? I know you had.
We did.
We did. I'm excited then.
We did. It wasn't about this part of Revelation, but I'll get to it. So I had 3 points, which is, and from this I have a question for you. The points I made because the whole point of these first 3 verses, I just really want to encourage people to want to read Revelation, and I said because it's relevant, it's written for you. 2, it's understandable. It actually is, especially if you don't look at it as timeline, but you look for themes and you look at it as images. And then the third part was, and it should be appealing. It has a message that's one that is meant to bless you. And so one of the questions I had for you was, which one of those 3 is the most challenging for you?
Well, the least challenging is the last one.
Really?
Yeah.
The appealing.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to say that I look forward to reading that book during, when it falls into my reading plan. It's not like, oh, I can't wait. I mean, there's definitely books of the Bible where I'm like, oh, I really enjoy reading this book. Revelation would not be one of the top 10 or anything, but the hope, especially when you get to the final chapter, it's just like, to me, it's like showering you with these promises of blessing.
Yeah.
If you can make your way to that point. What was the first one? Remind me the
relevant.
Other 2. Relevant. And then the second one was, it's not that,
and that it's understandable.
Yeah. I would probably say the relevant is the one that I struggle with of those. Not because I don't believe it, but because of the imagery. I find it in some ways a little, it's confusing. It's culturally doesn't connect with me because it doesn't represent our, the imagery doesn't represent our current culture. As you pointed out on Sunday, this was written, John was writing this for that generation of people. The imagery represented things that they would connect with immediately. Mm-hmm. And for us, it's an extra step to get there, as so many things are in the Bible.
Well, yes. Yeah. And so for you, it's doesn't feel relevant. Not that you don't feel like the message is for you. That's right. Not the issue. It's that the images, the understanding piece doesn't seem like it's easy to connect with.
Right. And maybe that is more of number two then at that point, it feels like the way it's presented, the genre of literature, because it's unfamiliar, I think we just have a tendency, as I think a lot of people do when they read the Bible in general, if they don't understand what the genre is they try to put that in literal terms, or they try to take our current vernacular, current understanding, and apply it directly without that intermediary translation, let's say, culturally.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so I think that it's like looking through a prism. You're not seeing straight. A lot of people are looking and it goes bing, and they end up off course.
Okay.
Because they missed that step. And I don't know if that applies to number one or not, but that's like
either way, that's the point. Yeah. Okay. Now that applies now to bring in the question, and I suppose it kind of gets all to the same thing. The question actually had to do with the 144,000 in chapter 7. Who are they?
Okay.
Who are they?
Witnesses.
Right. Yeah.
Sorry, kind of a joke.
No, right. Yeah, because they have a clear perspective on who they are.
That's right.
And I feel like I may have to actually do a full sermon at some point again to fully explain my position. But the simple answer as I can go is I suggested to not look at it as a timeline, but look at themes. Well, let's look at the themes of that chapter. It clearly is God's people. Whether it's Jews or not, it's clearly these people belong to God. They're clearly protected from the wrath of God. And God is saying, these are mine. I know who they are, and I'm going to take care of them. Now, you could ask the question of who specifically are they? Are they ethnic Jews? Are they the church? Yes, you can get that. But if you just simply go, God knows who his people are, and he's taking care of them. Okay, there you go. That's enough. And ironically, that is the point.
Well, the first thing I think of is 12 times 12 is 144.
Yep.
And 12 is, such a powerful symbolic number in the Bible that it feels like this is an exponent. We are taking this and it's not just squared, it's squared and then multiplied by 1,000. That's right. That's how it's like, to me, that says it's a number greater than you understand. It's like it's a symbolic number, not a literal number.
So obviously it's a symbolic number. Absolutely. Yes. Chapter 6 ends with the question of who can stand before the wrath of the Lamb. That's how literally, that's the last, I think it's the last sentence. And then the chapter 7 answers that question. And if we look through there,
oh, just a second. He turned off his microphone.
Verse 3 clearly says that the 144,000 are protected from the wrath, and then they're called servants. And who are the servants? From the beginning, verse 1 to the end of chapter 22, servants, God's servants are always believers. They're always believers. And if you go to the parallel passage in chapter 14, and again, you have the 144 come again, and these are the people who sing the song of the Lamb. These are the people who belong to him. And so you have this clear issue here of, it looks like these people are just simply God's people. But then you ask, then but why do all these references to the tribe of Judah, to the tribe of Gad, to the tribe of Levi, and all of that stuff? Well, and why the 12s, and why the 1,000? Well, the listing of the tribes of Judah, there's some weird things with it. They're not in the right order. There's some tribes missing. It's not normal, first of all. And then you have to, as you pointed out, the number 12. Number 12 is used all over the Revelation. It's used for, especially you can see a lot of these in chapter 21, where it's describing the New Jerusalem, where it's 12 by 12 by 12. It's like a giant Rubik's cube with 12 foundations and 12 gems with 12 entrances and 12. I mean, it's like 12, 12, 12, 12, 12, 12, all these 12s. And it's where God's people are. This represents God's people who are now dwelling in the presence of God. I mean, 12s are everywhere. It clearly is, it represents God's people, the 12 tribes of Israel. And so what is this saying? It's simply saying, look, what you just said, it's God's people multiplied and then by 1,000, which 1,000 is just a very large number,
right,
for the time. It's just a huge number. It's a way of saying lots.
Right.
In chapter 5, verse 17, where you see this huge chorus of angels worshiping the one who sits on the throne and the Lamb, it says in some translations, myriads of myriads. Literally, it's thousands of thousands. And that gives you a sense of what 1,000 means. Just a lot.
Right.
So that's all this is. And the point of it is God has sealed you. He's protected you. He's with you. He knows who you are, and he's going to keep you safe. It's the opposite of the mark of the beast, which is worth talking about at some point as well. And what is the mark of the beast? It's not the COVID shot. But people believe that with all seriousness.
Yeah.
But these are the people who belong to Satan and have no way of getting saved. Well, this is the opposite. So, but if you just look at themes, it's obvious. Just look at themes.
Well, here's another thing that I was thinking about related to this, is that because I think many of us have the tendency to approach our Bible reading. I'm not saying Bible study. I'm saying very specifically Bible reading.
Okay, reading.
Because we approach it as if it's a narrative. So when I read Samuel, it's a narrative. And
it's a story.
And it's enjoyable.
Like a story.
Yeah. But when you hit something like Revelation, that's not what it is. And because the imagery is so rich and complex in many ways, I don't think I'm going to regret saying this. I think people are very suggestible when it comes to what Revelation is saying. And I know that I have experienced people who have read it and come away with very strong feelings because one person in authority said, this is what it means. And there's a lot of conflict in the church.
A lot of conflict over this book.
Yeah. And there are other places where I think people where the language, the imagery, whatever is more accessible, where people's perspective, their opinion of what things are saying is more concrete. But here it feels like it's really easy for people to be kind of pulled away or to be manipulated. I happen to have a friend who has followed a pastor who very much manipulates his flock all around Revelation and how he interprets it, and that his interpretation is the only interpretation, and really takes advantage of people. through that. And if there was ever a book of the Bible that you should demonstrate curiosity and to really explore and not just take one authority, but to, what does this commentary say? And what does this commentary say? And what does this authority say? And not just one. It's something that I worry about because there's such an opportunity to foster conflict through this. And I think that people do intentionally take advantage of that fact. Is that, yeah.
I think so. I think, and my approach is to say, well, first of all, it is clearly symbolic. There's a lot of symbolism here. And the text itself tells us that. I pointed that out on Sunday. When you look at verse 1 and verse 2, it is clearly meant to be communicated using symbols. Okay. So we got to be looking at symbols, and it's not just simply straightforward that there's going to be something that looks like a scorpion running around, or you're going to see riding around the world people on white horses.
Right.
So just relax with that piece. Have a little bit of a soft touch with that. And then the other part is, it is difficult, even if you take the perspective of that there's a timeline here, it is challenging to figure out what that timeline is.
Yeah.
Which might suggest maybe it's not meant to be a timeline. Maybe it isn't. Maybe it's cyclical, which would be very Hebrew in the way they look at stuff.
Right.
By the way, because that's what they do. They say something and then they say it again. It's the parallelism that's from Genesis 1 all the way through, where they say something and they say it again. And so maybe we should, instead of trying to look for timelines, just look at what are some basic ideas here that can apply to us, whether Jesus comes back tomorrow or he comes back in another 2,000 years.
See, when I hear that, I always think coming back like a thief in the night. We're not intended to know specifically.
Not exactly, no.
And
I mean, there's some things that you can get close.
Right.
If you look at that passage, it says, you can tell when it's almost springtime because there's buds on the tree. But do you know exactly when it's spring? Well, no. But you know when it's getting closer.
Right.
That's about all you get.
Yeah. Well, to me, the point is, if you're so focused on when it's going to happen, you might be losing track of who you are supposed to be.
Yes. You miss the point of the book. The book isn't to give you a timeline. It's to look at the admonitions that over and over and over that are being given. He overcomes will have a portion of the tree of life, repenting of your sin and putting don't follow the lamb. This is the point. It is clearly the point. But you miss all of those clear applications if you're focused on all these other things.
Yeah.
Read it with John 3:16 in mind. Because it's whatever Revelation says. Let's just do good Bible study here. Whatever it says, it cannot say something fundamentally different than something that the rest of the scripture says. So read it in light of John 3:16 and Romans 8 and especially places like Ephesians chapter 1. I mean, this is how you should read it. And then it suddenly makes a lot more sense.
So I've got another kind of general question for you about Revelation.
Okay.
Back in 1999 timeframe thereabouts, there was the book series Left Behind that really just kind of took off.
Yep.
And I remember reading that, the first maybe 2 or 3 books, and going, oh, this is really interesting, Mm-hmm. And then it dragged on, and then they added extra books and whatever. And that also reminds me of, I'm trying to remember the author's name, but This Present Darkness and some
yes,
some
Peretti.
of the spiritual Frank Peretti, and some of the spiritual warfare kind of fiction that he was writing, and which was really compelling. I wonder if the basis of some people's doctrine, revelation doctrine, is based on Tim LaHaye and those books, and their curiosity doesn't go beyond that. And I would say that's a series that devolves and gets and departs farther from the scripture the further you go into the series.
People take that as if it's flat out scripture.
Yeah.
And I know I have some good friends who, man, that is the correct understanding of the end times and Revelation, period.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no. And that gets us into a whole nother conversation with dispensationalism and the all millennials and the post millennials and pre-millennials and all these isms. But yeah, you're right. They took that as it's gospel. Nope.
Well, it's very palatable. You know, something.
And it's a interesting story.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, I don't know if there was a question there. I guess that was just more of a comment on my part.
There's a comment. Does anybody else have comments? Were you able to see it? Anybody have any comments online? Probably not.
No, I don't log in anymore because I don't want to throw people off Sunday morning when they're trying to get things set up.
So let me look this up here. Are we actually online?
Yeah.
We have to be, right? Yeah. Oh, there we go. There we go. Live right there. I can hear myself on.
Yeah, turn the volume down.
Yep. Nope. No questions. No questions. Comments and stuff, but no questions. So.
You just turned off your mic. Try again. Yeah, I can't hear you. Still can't hear you. You threw your phone down. When you put your phone down, you shut it off or something. Oh.
Hey, there we go.
Kind of.
Weird.
Now you're back. You're back now.
Oh, I think the cable got bugged. So
yeah.
I just want to say, if you guys have questions about the about anything in this, my position on various things, questions, please continue to ask. You know, I'll do my best to answer them. It is a complex book, but if we look at the basic ideas, it's not. There's a lot of good red meat for us to chew on and to be encouraged with this book.
Yeah,
and that's the main thing I want to encourage you with.
And once, if you challenged people to read, read the first half of the book before next Sunday, and there is, once you allow yourself to engage with it with an open mind, and then somebody kind of comes along and puts in front of you kind of I don't want to call it a translator, but just like, oh, you see this? This goes back to Daniel. You remember what happened in Daniel? See that? And then you go, oh, and those connections start to fire.
Oh, then it gets exciting.
And then it gets exciting. It's so rewarding when you start to connect these various elements. And then it's like, oh, gosh, that makes so much more sense. But you do have to commit yourself a little bit to engage with that. And by doing that, by doing your little bit of homework ahead of time, you're actually also going to make, you're going to be looking forward to Sunday because you're already going to know what Pastor Brian is talking about, and he's going to start to make those connections for you. So I really encourage you, do that. Set aside 20 minutes a day for the next couple of days, or however, I don't know how fast you read, and try to have, those first 11 chapters, kind of consume those. And even if you don't understand them fully, you'll have questions, and you will have some connection with the message on Sunday.
Absolutely. All right. And that's what we're going to talk about on Sunday is the next couple of verses. So I'm going to go pretty slow at the first couple little bit here, but
thank you.
Anyways. Thanks for coming in tonight, everybody. And you guys have a fantastic week. And I will see you guys on Sunday. See you on Sunday, Joe.
Maybe even on Friday.
Maybe. We'll see.
Wait, is Bunko night on Friday?
Yes.
Yeah, I won't be at Bunko. But that doesn't mean y'all shouldn't be at Bunko. Check out the website. I'm sure there's information on it.
Yep.
All right. Have a good night, folks.
You guys have a good night, everybody. Take care.